mortals. Some endings don't arrive all at once. They don't begin with a single moment. They build, quietly, gradually, one decision at a time, one habit becoming routine, one night blending into the next, until eventually, there's no clear line between control and momentum. And by the time anyone notices, it's already too late. This is a tale of Hollywood and money gone way too far when paired with recklessness.
Across multiple countries and cultures, there are individuals who identify as vampires. These individuals do not claim immortality, supernatural transformation, or abilities commonly associated with fictional depictions. They live within ordinary social structures, maintain employment, and interact within established communities. However, they engage in practices and belief systems that distinguish them from the general population. Some consume small controlled quantities of human blood, typically obtained from consenting donors. Others describe a need to draw what they refer to as energy from other individuals. This concept is not recognized within medical science, but it is consistently reported within these groups. Collectively, these individuals are often referred to as real vampires. The term is informal, but it appears in academic research, sociological studies, and within the communities themselves. The existence of these groups raises several questions. Where did this identity originate? How did it evolve from historical belief into modern behavior? And in documented cases where violence has occurred, what role, if any, did vampirism play? This is an examination based on recorded history, observed practices, and verifiable cases. The term real vampire is not a clinical classification. It is a self-applied identity used by individuals who report engaging in specific practices or experiencing particular physiological or psychological needs. Academic research into these groups, including work by John Edgar Browning and Joseph Laycock, has identified consistent patterns in how these individuals describe themselves and organize socially. The most commonly referenced category is sanguinarian vampirism. Sanguinarians consume small quantities of human blood. This practice is typically structured and controlled. Participants emphasize consent as a central requirement. Individuals who provide blood are referred to as donors. Donor relationships vary. In some cases, they are informal and occasional. In others, they are ongoing and structured, with clear agreements regarding frequency, quantity, and method. The methods used are generally minor and designed to limit risk. These may include small, superficial cuts, using sterile instruments. Participants often report following basic hygiene protocols, though these practices are not medically regulated. There is no recognized medical requirement for the consumption of human blood. The reported need is subjective and varies between individuals. A second category is commonly referred to as psychic or energy vampirism. Individuals in this group do not consume blood. Instead, they describe an ongoing need to absorb energy from other people or environments. This energy is not defined in biological terms and is not measurable through established scientific methods. Descriptions of this process vary. Some individuals report drawing energy through physical proximity or touch. Others describe more abstract methods, such as focusing attention or intention during social interaction. Some individuals identify with both categories. Within these communities, additional terminology is used. Awakening refers to the point at which an individual begins to identify as a vampire. Feeding refers to the act of consuming blood or drawing energy. Communities are decentralized. There is no central authority or unified belief system. However, localized groups known as houses exist. One example is House Keperu, associated with Michel Bélanger, which established guidelines emphasizing consent, responsibility, and structure. Another organization is the Atlanta Vampire Alliance, founded by Murdicus, which conducted one of the largest surveys of self-identified vampires. Findings showed participants come from diverse backgrounds and maintain normal social integration. Secrecy is common. Many individuals separate this identity from their public life. Overall, human vampirism is a self-defined identity supported by shared terminology, community interaction, and structured practices. Beliefs associated with vampirism predate the modern subculture by centuries. In early modern Europe, particularly in the 17th and 18th centuries, a series of events known as vampire panics occurred. These were concentrated in Eastern Europe, including Serbia and surrounding regions. One documented case is Petar Blagojevich, who died in 1725. Villagers reported sightings after his death and attributed subsequent illnesses to him. His body was exhumed and appeared to show signs that were interpreted as life, including blood at the mouth. Modern science explains these observations as natural decomposition processes. Another case is Arnold Paule, whose death was followed by similar reports and exhumations. In both cases, limited medical knowledge led to misinterpretation of bodily changes. These incidents followed a consistent pattern: death, reported sightings, illness, exhumation, and intervention. They occurred during a time when disease transmission was poorly understood. The concept of a returning dead individual provided an explanation for unexplained illness. Over time, as medical knowledge advanced, these beliefs declined. However, the concept of the vampire persisted through literature. Works such as The Vampire and Dracula established the modern fictional image. The modern identity of human vampirism emerged much later, in the late 20th century. This represents a shift from external accusation to internal identification. Modern vampire communities developed in urban environments during the late 20th century. One of the most documented locations is New Orleans. The city's cultural environment, including alternative spirituality and nightlife, supports subcultural formation. Figures such as Michel Belanger contributed to structured communities like House Keperu. The Atlanta Vampire Alliance, founded by Murticus, conducted research that showed participants maintained normal lives across diverse professions. Another figure, Father Sebastian, developed the Black Veil, a set of guidelines addressing behavior and ethics within the community. Communities often organize into houses with informal leadership structures. Donor relationships are based on consent and structured agreements. Interaction occurs both in person and online. Common themes include privacy, consent, and distinction from fiction. These communities remain small and decentralized. Research indicates that individuals who identify as vampires report consistent experiences. These include fatigue, a perceived need for external energy, and a sense of difference. One participant described the experience as something they realized rather than chose. The concept of awakening reflects this recognition. Subcultures provide a framework for interpreting these experiences. Participants describe feeding, whether through blood or energy, as stabilizing their condition. These effects are subjective and not medically validated. Most individuals remain socially integrated. They maintain employment, relationships, and responsibilities. Selective disclosure is common due to stigma. Community interaction provides validation and shared understanding. There is no single psychological explanation for all cases. Human vampirism is best understood as a self-defined identity supported by community structures. A small number of criminal cases involve individuals whose actions included blood consumption. These cases are not representative of the broader subculture. Richard Trenton Chase committed multiple murders in California and consumed blood from victims. He suffered from paranoid schizophrenia and acted under delusional beliefs. Peter Curtin committed murders in Germany and reported deriving satisfaction from drinking blood. His behavior was premeditated and analyzed as sadistic. Alan Menzies committed murder in Scotland and cited influence from vampire media. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia. All cases involved independent actors and severe psychological factors. They were not connected to organized vampire communities. Modern communities emphasize consent and nonviolence. The term vampire in these cases is descriptive, not indicative of identity or community. Vampire subculture appears in urban clusters. New Orleans is the most documented location due to its cultural environment, anonymity, and alternative social scenes. Other cities include New York, Atlanta, and Los Angeles. These locations share characteristics such as population density, diversity, and established subcultures. Figures such as Father Sebastian, Michel Belanger, and Merticus have contributed to community visibility in these areas. Urban environments allow individuals to maintain privacy while connecting with others. Hotspots represent concentration, not widespread participation. Most individuals remain private. Public perception of vampires is shaped by media. Fictional portrayals include supernatural traits not present in real-world cases. Researchers such as Joseph Laycock note a gap between representation and reality. Media often emphasizes extreme cases, leading to misunderstanding. Individuals within vampire communities reject fictional comparisons. They describe their identity as independent of media influence. Most practices are controlled and consensual. Misrepresentation contributes to stigma and limited disclosure. Understanding requires separating fiction from documented behavior. Human vampirism is a modern subcultural identity. It is defined by self-identification, behavior, and community interaction. It does not involve supernatural elements. It is not a medical condition. Practices vary, but are typically structured and consensual. Communities are decentralized and small in scale. Historical vampire beliefs are separate from modern identity. Criminal cases exist, but are not representative. Media portrayal differs significantly from reality. Understanding the subject requires separating historical belief, fiction, and documented behavior.
The term vampire has existed for centuries. Its meaning has changed over time, from fear to fiction to identity. What remains consistent is the distinction between belief, representation, and documented behavior. Understanding that distinction is necessary to understand the subject itself. Nothing more is required.